On behalf of Open Hoffs, welcome to Part 3 of the Voluspa. I know where Heimdall hid his ear under the heaven-bright holy branches of Yggdrasil. I see a river that feeds the muddy waterfall where Odin's eye hides. Have you learned enough yet, Allfather? I sat alone when that ancient one came to me, Odin of the Aesir, and he looked into my eye. What do you seek from me, Odin? Why do you seek me, Odin? Odin, I know where you hid your eye in the famous waters of the well of Mimir, but Mimir can drink every morning from those waters where your own eye drowns. Have you learned enough yet, Allfather? Odin opened my eyes to rings and necklaces. In exchange, he got wisdom and prophecy. I saw more and more, looking out over all the worlds. I saw the Valkyries come from far away, ready to ride to the homes of the gods. Skuld held a shield, and Skogul another. Gun, Hild, Gondul, and Girskogul. Now the Valkyries are counted, ready to ride to the earth. The Valkyries. I saw Balder, the bloodied victim, Odin's son, resigned to his fate. There stood the mistletoe, growing slender and fair high above the plain. That tree, which seemed harmless, caused a terrible sorrow when Hoth took a shot. Balder's brother was born soon thereafter. He was Odin's son. He took vengeance while still just one night old. He had never washed his hands nor combed his hair when he put Baldur's killer on the funeral pyre. Frigg wept in Frenslayer for the woe of Valhalla. Have you learned enough yet, Allfather? I saw a prisoner lying in a certain wood, the liar himself, none other than Loki. There sits Sigrun, his wife, although she finds no glee in her husband. Have you learned enough yet, Allfather? A river falls from the east, full of daggers and swords, through valleys of poison. It is named Slith. There stands north of the dark valleys a golden hall of the kin of Sindri, and another one stands at Okelnir, the beer hall of a giant named Brimir. I saw a hall that stood far from the sun. On the beaches of corpses, the doors faced north. Drops of poison fall through the roof. Its walls are encircled by serpents. I saw oath breakers wading in those thick streams and murderers, and those who seduce others' lovers. There, Nidhogg sucks the corpses of the fallen, snaps them in his jaws. Have you learned enough yet, Allfather? In the east sat an aged giantess in ironwood, and there she raised Fenrir's brood. Among them is a certain one who bites the moon in a troll's shape. Dead men feed their lives to the wolf. The home of the gods turns red with gore. The sun shines black through the summers. The weather is never cheerful. Have you learned enough yet, Allfather? A giant, a herder by trade, sits there on a burial mound, striking a harp. He is the cheerful Egthir. A bright red rooster named Fjalar sings near him in birdwood. Near the Aesir sings the rooster named Goldencomb. He wakes the men who fight for Odin, lord of battle. But another sings, below the earth, a soot-red rooster, in the halls of hell. Fenrir howls terribly before the doors to hell. The wolf will break its bonds and run. I know much wisdom. I see deep in the future, all the way to Ragnarok, a dark day for the gods. Brothers will fight one another and kill one another. Cousins will break peace with one another. The world will be a hard place to live in. It will be an age of adultery, an age of the axe, an age of the sword, an age of storms. an age of wolves. Shields will be cloven. Before the world sinks into the sea, there will be no man left who is true to another. The giants are at play, and the gods' fate is kindled at the blast of the Gjallarhorn. Heimdall blows that horn hard, holds it high aloft. Odin speaks with Mimir's head. The old tree sighs when the giant shakes it. Yggdrasil still stands, but it trembles. Fenrir howls terribly before the doors to hell. The wolf will break its bonds and run. I know much wisdom. I see deep in the future, all the way to Ragnarok, a dark day for the gods. Herm advances from the east with shield before him, and the Midgard serpent is in a monstrous rage. The serpent beats the waves, and the eagle screams eagerly, splitting corpses with his pale beak. Naglfar, the giant ship, is released. That ship sails from the east, bearing giants over the sea, and Loki is its captain. The giants are coming together with Fenrir, and Loki too is with them on that voyage. What news from the gods? What news from the elves? All Jotunheim is roaring. The Aesir are in council, and the dwarves, creatures of the mountains, tremble by their doors of stone. Have you learned enough yet, Allfather? Surt comes from the south with a bright light in his hand. Yes, the sun shines upon the sword in his grasp. The mountains collapse, the trolls fall, men walk the roads to hell, and the skies divide above. Then comes the second sorrow of Frigg, when Odin goes to fight the wolf, and Frey goes to fight the giant Surt. Then Odin, Frigg's husband, will fall to Fenrir. Then comes the great son of Odin, Vithar, to fight to avenge his father on the wolf. He shoves his sword into the mouth of Fenrir, all the way to the heart, and thus Odin is avenged. Then Thor comes, Earth's son, Odin's son, to fight the Midgard serpent. The protector of Midgard will kill that serpent in his rage, but all humankind will die out of the world when Thor falls after only 9 steps, struck down by the venom of the honorless serpent. The sun turns black, the earth sinks into the sea. The bright stars fall out of the sky. Flames scorch the leaves of Yggdrasil. A great bonfire reaches to the highest clouds. Fenrir howls terribly before the doors to hell. The wolf will break its bonds and run. I know much wisdom. I see deep in the future, all the way to Ragnarok, a dark day for the gods.